It was a flickering image broadcast across the globe, a grainy black and white ghost descending a ladder. For one breathtaking moment on July 20th, 1969, humanity held its collective breath. An estimated 600 million people, a significant portion of the Earth's population at the time, were united, their eyes glued to television screens, watching as a human being first set foot upon another world. This was more than just a technological achievement. It was a profound, species-defining event that reshaped our perception of what was possible. The moon, a silent, silvery companion that had inspired poets, artists, and dreamers for millennia, was suddenly within our grasp. It became a tangible place, a destination, forever altering our relationship with the cosmos and with ourselves. But what if that moment never happened? What if the television screens remained blank? The Eagle lander never touched down in the Sea of Tranquility. And Neil Armstrong's famous words, "That's one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind," were never spoken. To imagine such a world is to unravel the very fabric of the late 20th century. Without this pivotal event, the trajectory of technology, the course of international politics, and even our cultural identity would have followed a vastly different path. The moon landing was not merely an isolated scientific expedition. It was the culmination of a decade of intense effort, a symbol of national pride, and a catalyst for innovations that would ripple through society in ways no one could have predicted. The significance of the Apollo 11 mission extended far beyond the lunar dust collected or the flag planted on its surface. It was a powerful demonstration of human ingenuity, determination, and collaboration on an unprecedented scale. It told us that with enough focus, resources, and ambition, even the most audacious dreams could be realized. It inspired a generation of children to look up at the stars and see not just distant points of light, but future destinations. Scientists, engineers, mathematicians, and explorers were born in the shadow of that great achievement. The very idea of progress seemed to accelerate, fueled by the knowledge that we had broken the bonds of our home planet. To erase the moon landing from our history is to remove a cornerstone of modern civilization. It's like imagining a world where the great explorers never crossed the oceans or where the secrets of the atom were never unlocked. The absence of that single event would create a void, a cascading effect that would leave our present-day world almost unrecognizable. The technologies we rely on, the global interconnectedness we take for granted, and our understanding of our own planet's fragility would all be diminished. We must journey back in time to a world divided by ideology and fear to understand just how crucial that giant leap truly was for all of us. Our journey to the moon did not begin with a desire for scientific discovery alone. It was born from conflict, a rivalry between two global superpowers, the United States and the Soviet Union. This period, known as the Cold War, was a tense ideological struggle between American capitalism and Soviet communism that played out from the end of World War II until the early 1990s. While direct military confrontation was largely avoided, the competition manifested in proxy wars, an escalating nuclear arms race, and most visibly the space race. The heavens themselves became the new frontier, a celestial battlefield where technological superiority would be demonstrated for the entire world to see. The starting pistol for this race was fired on October 4th, 1957. On that day, the Soviet Union shocked the world by launching Sputnik 1, the first artificial satellite to orbit the Earth. Its simple, repetitive radio beeps were a clear and unsettling message to the United States. The Soviets had taken the lead in the conquest of space. This small metallic sphere, no bigger than a beach ball, created a wave of anxiety across America, a phenomenon that came to be known as the Sputnik crisis. The fear was not just about losing prestige, it was about national security. A nation that could place a satellite in orbit could, in theory, deliver a nuclear warhead to any city on the planet. In this climate of fear and competition, space exploration became inextricably linked with military and political dominance. Every launch was a move on a global chessboard. Every success a victory and every failure a public setback. The Soviet Union continued to rack up impressive firsts. The first animal in space, the first human in space, Yuri Gagarin in 1961, and the first spacewalk. For the United States, falling behind was not an option. The space race was framed as a battle for the hearts and minds of the world, a demonstration of which system, democracy or communism, could achieve the impossible. It was a high-stakes contest for technological and ideological supremacy. It was President John F. Kennedy who, in 1961, dramatically raised the stakes. He stood before the U.S. Congress and set a goal that seemed almost fantastical at the time: to land a man on the moon and return him safely to the Earth before the decade was out. This was not just a scientific objective. It was a political declaration. It was a bold, audacious challenge designed to galvanize the nation, focus its resources, and leapfrog the Soviets in one incredible bound. The moon, distant and serene, was now the ultimate prize in the Cold War, the finish line in the greatest race humanity had ever run. In the wake of the Sputnik crisis, the United States knew it needed a coordinated, civilian-led effort to compete in the burgeoning space race. Before this, space-related projects were scattered across various military branches, lacking a unified vision. In response, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration, or NASA, was created in 1958. Its founding was a direct answer to the Soviet challenge, a formal declaration that America was serious about exploring the cosmos. NASA's mission was clear and ambitious: to pioneer the future in space exploration, scientific discovery, and aeronautics research for the benefit of all humankind. It was to be an agency of dreamers and engineers tasked with turning science fiction into scientific fact. Initially, NASA's goals were incremental, focused on catching up to the Soviet Union's early lead. The Mercury program aimed to put the first American in orbit, while the Gemini program was designed to master the complex techniques needed for a lunar mission, such as long-duration flights, spacewalks, and orbital rendezvous and docking. These early missions were crucial stepping stones, teaching engineers and astronauts the harsh lessons of space flight. But with President Kennedy's monumental 1961 declaration, NASA's primary mission crystallized into a single, breathtaking objective: the Apollo program, with the ultimate goal of landing 2 American astronauts on the moon before 1970. The sheer scale of the Apollo program was staggering. It required a national mobilization of resources, talent, and industrial might unlike anything seen in peacetime. At its peak, the program employed over 400,000 people and involved the collaboration of more than 20,000 industrial firms and universities across the country. It demanded the invention of entirely new technologies, the solution to countless unsolved engineering problems, and the development of massive new rockets, spacecraft, and life support systems. The challenge was immense, and the risks were terrifyingly real. The tragic Apollo 1 fire in 1967, which claimed the lives of 3 astronauts, was a stark reminder of the dangers involved. Without the singular unifying goal of a moon landing, it is highly questionable whether an organization like NASA would have ever been funded or sustained on such a grand scale. A world without a lunar objective might have seen a much smaller, more fragmented space program, perhaps remaining under military control and focused solely on satellite surveillance and missile technology. The grand vision of human exploration might have been dismissed as an expensive fantasy. The Apollo program forced NASA and the nation to dream big, to push the absolute limits of technology and human endurance. It was this audacious goal that gave the agency its purpose and propelled it into history. The road to the moon was paved with invention. To solve the monumental challenges of space flight, NASA and its partners had to create technologies that simply did not exist before. These innovations, born out of necessity, were not destined to remain in the vacuum of space. Many of them found their way back to Earth, transforming countless aspects of our daily lives. One of the most poignant examples arose from the ashes of tragedy. After the devastating Apollo 1 fire, NASA embarked on an intensive effort to develop fire-resistant materials to protect its astronauts. The result was highly resistant clothing and textiles that could withstand extreme temperatures, a technology that was later shared with firefighters, saving countless lives here on the ground. Another critical area of development was life support. Keeping an astronaut alive and comfortable in the hostile environment of space with its extreme temperature swings required ingenious solutions. To manage the intense heat inside a spacesuit, NASA developed liquid cooling and ventilation garments in 1966. These suits circulated cool water through a network of tubes woven into the fabric, effectively controlling the wearer's core body temperature. Today, this same technology is used to help people suffering from medical conditions like multiple sclerosis, who have difficulty regulating their body heat, allowing them to live more comfortable and active lives. The quest to protect life in space ended up improving the quality of life on Earth. The challenges of space flight also led to improvements in tools used by first responders. Early breathing masks worn by firefighters were often cumbersome with limited fields of vision. Working in collaboration with firefighting organizations, NASA helped design and improve the self-contained breathing apparatus. They developed masks with a wider, more open view, made from more durable and lightweight materials, and featuring communication systems that were easier to use. These enhancements, driven by the need for reliable equipment in the unforgiving environment of space, directly translated into better, safer gear for those who face danger in our own communities every day. From specialized insulation materials developed to protect spacecraft from the cold of space, now used in our homes and buildings, to freeze-dried food techniques that revolutionized food preservation. The legacy of the Apollo program is all around us. If the moon landing had never happened, these specific problems might never have been addressed with such urgency and funding. The solutions that emerged were not just for astronauts, they were solutions for humanity. The intense focus required to send humans to another world had the unintended but wonderful consequence of making our own world safer, healthier, and more advanced. The spin-offs of Apollo are a testament to how pursuing a great and distant goal can yield immediate and tangible benefits. Perhaps the most profound technological legacy of the Apollo program lies in the digital revolution it helped to ignite. The Apollo guidance computer was a marvel of miniaturization for its time. To navigate a spacecraft to the moon and back, NASA needed a computer that was small, lightweight, and powerful enough to perform complex calculations in real time, a device that simply did not exist in the early 1960s. The solution was the integrated circuit, a technology that placed multiple electronic components onto a single sliver of silicon. The Apollo program became the largest single consumer of these early integrated circuits, driving their development, proving their reliability, and dramatically lowering their cost. This push for miniaturization was the critical first step toward the modern microchip. Without the immense demand and funding from NASA, the development of integrated circuits might have progressed at a much slower pace. The Apollo computer, while primitive by today's standards, demonstrated the incredible potential of cramming more and more processing power into smaller and smaller spaces. This principle is the very foundation of the digital age. Every smartphone in your pocket, every laptop on your desk, and every complex electronic device we use today owes a part of its existence to the pioneering work done to guide a tiny capsule across the vastness of space. A world without a moon landing is likely a world where the personal computer revolution of the 1980s and 1990s would have been significantly delayed. The technologies that made home computing possible, affordable microprocessors, reliable memory chips, and compact designs, were all accelerated by the demands of the space program. The software engineering principles developed to write the flawless code needed for the Apollo missions also laid the groundwork for modern software development. The need for absolute perfection in a life or death situation forced programmers to invent new methods for testing and verification, disciplines that are now standard practice in the tech industry. The impact is almost impossible to overstate. Imagine a world where computers remained the giant, room-sized machines of the 1950s, accessible only to governments and large corporations. The democratization of information, the rise of the internet, and the interconnected global economy are all downstream effects of the microchip. By setting a goal that required a computational leap, the Apollo program inadvertently launched a second race, not to the moon, but toward the information society we now inhabit. The small step of the integrated circuit was, in its own way, a giant leap for computation and for all of humanity. To reach the moon, NASA had to build rockets of unprecedented power and scale. The mighty Saturn V, the rocket that propelled the Apollo missions, was a masterpiece of engineering capable of lifting massive payloads far beyond Earth's immediate vicinity. And this incredible lifting capacity had an application beyond just sending humans to the moon. It gave us the ability to place large, complex satellites into high geosynchronous orbit over 36,000 kilometers above the planet. At this altitude, a satellite's orbital period matches the Earth's rotation, allowing it to remain stationary over a single point on the ground. This was the key to creating a truly global communications network. Without the powerful rockets developed for the Apollo program, our satellite infrastructure would look vastly different. We might have smaller, less capable satellites in lower orbits, but the robust, interconnected network that powers our modern world might have remained a distant dream. This network is the invisible backbone of the 21st century. It allows for instant global television broadcasts, reliable international phone calls, and the high-speed data transfer that we now call the internet. When you stream a video, join a video conference with someone on another continent, or watch a live news event from across the world, you are using a system whose architecture was made possible by the technology built to go to the moon. One of the most transformative technologies to emerge from this satellite capability is the Global Positioning System, or GPS, and this system relies on a constellation of dozens of satellites, each broadcasting a precise timing signal. A receiver on the ground, like the one in your car or smartphone, can interpret these signals to calculate its exact location anywhere on Earth. While the military likely would have developed some form of GPS for navigation and targeting, the civilian access we enjoy today is a direct descendant of the space program's broader push. The Apollo program normalized the idea of using space-based assets for the benefit of people on the ground. In a world that never reached for the moon, our sense of global community would be fundamentally weaker. The internet might exist in a more primitive form, perhaps limited to slow land-based cables, making global connectivity a luxury for the few rather than a utility for the many. GPS navigation might have remained a classified military secret. The seamless flow of information, commerce, and culture that defines our era would be fractured and slow. The Saturn V rocket was not just lifting astronauts, it was lifting the very potential for a connected human civilization, weaving a web of communication that now encircles our entire planet. The legacy of the Apollo program extends far beyond the mission itself. The technologies, infrastructure, and expertise developed for the moon landing created a platform for the next generation of space exploration. Without that foundation, many of the most iconic scientific instruments and programs of the late 20th and early 21st centuries might never have come to be. For instance, the Space Shuttle program, which gave us a reusable spacecraft capable of deploying and servicing large objects in orbit, was a logical next step after Apollo. Its development relied heavily on the knowledge gained from designing, launching, and operating complex space missions. Without the Space Shuttle, one of humanity's greatest scientific eyes on the universe might never have opened. The Hubble Space Telescope, launching and deploying a telescope of Hubble's size and complexity, would have been nearly impossible without the shuttle's spacious cargo bay. More importantly, the ability to service the telescope in orbit, as astronauts famously did in 1993 to correct its flawed mirror, was a capability unique to the shuttle program. A world without a moon landing is likely a world without the shuttle, and therefore a world without the breathtaking images and universe-altering discoveries that Hubble has provided for decades. Our view of the cosmos would be far dimmer. Furthermore, our understanding of our own planet would be severely handicapped. The same satellite networks that enable GPS and global communications are also our primary tools for monitoring Earth's climate. From orbit, we can track melting ice caps, measure sea level rise, monitor deforestation in the Amazon, and observe the scale of weather patterns like hurricanes in real time. This global perspective, the ability to see our planet as a single, interconnected system, was a direct cultural and technological outcome of the space program. The famous blue marble photograph taken by the Apollo 17 crew forever changed our perception of Earth as a fragile, beautiful oasis in the void. Without the imperative of the moon landing to drive rocket and satellite technology forward, our ability to monitor climate change would be drastically reduced. We would be relying on localized, ground-based measurements, struggling to piece together a global picture of what is happening to our world. Our understanding of the real-time effects of our own actions on the planet would be decades behind where it is today. We would be, in a very real sense, flying blind. The quest to understand another world gave us the tools we desperately need to understand and protect our own. To imagine a world without the Apollo 11 moon landing is to envision a society with a different sense of self, a different relationship with technology, and a different understanding of its place in the universe. The moon landing was a moment of profound optimism. It demonstrated that humanity could achieve truly great things when it worked together towards a common, peaceful goal. In a world still reeling from 2 world wars and gripped by the fear of nuclear annihilation, Apollo offered a hopeful counter-narrative. It suggested that our technological prowess could be used not just for destruction, but for exploration and enlightenment. Without that moment of unity and triumph, the cultural landscape of the late 20th century would have been bleaker. The focus might have remained more squarely on the nuclear arms race. The Cold War, without the symbolic release valve of the space race, could have become even more tense. In 1986, the world's nuclear stockpiles peaked at nearly 70,000 weapons. While the space race was fueled by rivalry, some speculate that pouring immense resources into rocket technology for exploration may have diverted some focus and funding away from purely military applications. Without Apollo, the balance of fear might have been tipped in a more dangerous direction. The psychological impact on society would also be significant. The overview effect, the profound cognitive shift reported by astronauts who see the Earth from space, became part of our collective consciousness through the images sent back by the Apollo missions. Seeing our world as a small, borderless blue and white sphere floating in the blackness fostered a new sense of global identity and environmental awareness. It made our political squabbles seem petty and our shared home precious. Without the blue marble and the stories of the astronauts, the modern environmental movement might have lacked one of its most powerful and enduring symbols. In this alternate reality, our daily lives would feel less connected, less informed, and perhaps less inspired. We would navigate our world with paper maps instead of GPS. Our access to information would be slower and more localized. The scientific breakthroughs in fields from materials science to computer engineering would have been delayed, affecting everything from medicine to manufacturing. The sky at night would feel more distant, the stars less like potential destinations and more like inaccessible points of light. The sense of wonder and possibility that the moon landing ignited would be missing, leaving a void in our collective imagination. The decision to go to the moon was one of the most audacious and consequential choices in human history. It was a gamble that paid off in ways far beyond winning a political race. The Apollo program was an engine of progress, accelerating technological development by decades and fundamentally reshaping modern society, from the microchip in your phone to the GPS that guides your travels, from the fire-resistant gear that protects our heroes to the satellites that monitor our changing climate. We live in a world built on the foundation of that lunar ambition, the moon landing was not an end point, it was a beginning. In a world where that giant leap was never taken, humanity's horizon would be closer, our ambitions smaller. The spirit of exploration, that innate human drive to see what lies beyond the next hill, would have been dealt a significant blow. The subsequent decades of space science, including missions to Mars, Jupiter, and beyond, might have been deemed too expensive or too difficult without the precedent set by Apollo. The very existence of NASA as a powerful force for scientific discovery could have been questioned, potentially leaving space as the exclusive domain of the military. The cosmos would have remained a far more mysterious and intimidating place. The most invaluable legacy of the moon landing, however, may not be technological but inspirational. It proved that with a bold vision, political will, and a dedicated team of brilliant minds, humanity can overcome seemingly insurmountable obstacles. It stands as a permanent testament to our potential. Whenever we face great challenges, whether it's curing a disease, transitioning to clean energy, or uniting a divided world, the memory of Apollo serves as a reminder that the impossible is often just the unattempted. It taught us how to solve problems on a grand scale, a lesson that is more critical today than ever before. Ultimately, landing on the moon changed how we see ourselves. We were no longer a species confined to one world. We were a species that could travel between them. That knowledge is now woven into our identity. It fuels our dreams of one day visiting Mars and exploring even more distant shores in the cosmic ocean. The faint footprints left in the lunar dust are more than just a historical artifact. They are a symbol of our restless curiosity and our unyielding hope for the future. The echo of that one small step continues to propel us forward, urging us to keep looking up and to continue our journey to the stars.